Blog Talk Radio.
This is the Light of Truth radio broadcast with Michael Boldea.
All right, welcome to the program, and thank you for joining us. This is the Light of Truth radio broadcast. I am your host, Michael Boldea, and as has become customary, I let you know when this is recorded. And as a matter of fact, it is. This is a recording. I really wanted to be on last week because, boy, was there a lot to talk about. But thankfully, every week seems to have a cornucopia of things to talk about. Some good, some not so good. But this is the reality we're living in. Yes, this is a recorded program. It is being recorded the same day that this will be airing. So, 'tis fresh, children, 'tis fresh. Well, we're loaded for bear, to say the least. It's time to get our war paint on. We're less than 2 weeks away from these national elections to choose a president of the United States. And I guess in less than 2 weeks, we're going to find out whether people hate Trump's personality enough to sentence their children to a life of poverty, communism, and having degenerates with septum piercings and face tattoos lord over them as though this were some apocalyptic movie. So this is where we're at. We're going to find out 12 days hence whether enough people have a head on their shoulders to discern between personality and character. And that's where we're going to start today, delineating the difference between personality and character. Because when you ask individuals why they would be voting against this current president, their answer always has to do with his personality bothers me. It's not about the job he's done. It's not about the things he's accomplished. It's not about the successes this administration has had. It's about his personality. Well, I'm sorry you're not 4 years old anymore. And I'm very sad that as yet you cannot discern the difference between character and personality. Now, the biggest difference for me as far as character and personality are concerned is that a man's character cascades down to his children. A man's character cascades down to his family, his acquaintances, and everyone else. You can see the character of a man in the accomplishments of his children. You should write that down because that's a doozy. It's intelligent. It's wisdom itself. And you're not going to come across it again. That's how profound it is. The character of a man is discerned in the lives of his children. Now, again, I'm not one to, beat a crack addict while he's passed out. Far be it from me to beat a crack addict while he's passed out. However, between the children of this current president and the man aspiring to be president, one doesn't need to be Inspector Gadget in order to see the differences. Now, there has been a lot going on over the past 2 weeks. Apparently, Amy Coney Barrett will be confirmed to the Supreme Court before the elections. Again, you know what? Nobody's perfect. But I listened to what she had to say, and she's a constitutionalist. She's a literalist. I don't have to interpret the Constitution to make it, say what I wanted to say. This is what it says, and this is the law we have to abide by. And that's all you can really ask. I know. There's still some, well, we wanted a saint. Or the other objection, she's Catholic. Well, you know what? Saints are few and far between. Apparently, we handed out all the saint cards to people like George Floyd. So a woman who's got 7 kids was able to juggle a career and 7 children, adopt 2 children who happen to be black. And that has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that there are people out there who say the fact that she adopted 2 black children goes to show just how devious she is. Because this was her plan and plot all along, to make it to the Supreme Court of these United States, and it would have looked good on her resume if she had 2 adopted children who happened to be black. Yes, people have gone that far. Yes, people have lost their minds. Welcome to 2020. I can only imagine what 2021 will look at. The big news, the breaking stories, if you will, of the last few days have revolved around a laptop that one Hunter Biden himself dropped off to get fixed some time ago, whether, crack-induced or otherwise. The man forgot that he dropped it off. I know I forgot a shirt at the dry cleaners for 6 months. And when I went to pick it up, the guy said, yeah, we gave it away. So people forget things. Now, what's on this particular laptop ought to have made one Hunter Biden a little more aware of the fact that he needed to go pick up his electronic device after getting fixed. But there's a lot to unpack on there. And if you want to get back into the Wayback Machine, what was it? 3 weeks ago, I said, there's a reason these people are so rabid. And it's stuff that we haven't seen yet. It's stuff that hasn't made its way to the surface yet. Because it's not something as tame as adultery or a throuple or anything else. These people revel in adultery. They revel in thruples. I know. If you don't know the word, look it up. It was coined by a Democrat congressperson who was caught in a throuple. Now, nobody on their side had any issues with the fact that she was in a throuple. The only problem was one of the people in the throuple, other than her husband, was her assistant, who was getting paid by the state to, be in a relationship with her. I mean, we'll get back to Hunter Biden because we have to unpack this. Nobody else is. Apparently, there's a lid, as the kids like to say, from the mainstream media as far as how truly corrupt the Biden family is. And they're hoping to run out the clock. They're hoping not enough people realize what's going on and how awful it is until after the elections. So the only problem was this broke too soon. You still got 12 days. People will find out that Joe Biden and his entire clan are nothing more than swamp creatures. But I want to get back to something that just popped into my mind. No matter how bad a week you've had, let me just begin by saying your week wasn't half as bad as Jeffrey Toobin's. The reason I mention Jeffrey Toobin is not because I want to pile on and point out the fact that he got caught pleasuring himself on Zoom while on a business call. The reason I mention Jeffrey Toobin and his ilk is because people like Jeffrey Toobin, yes, the aforementioned man who was caught pleasuring himself on Zoom while he was supposed to do some sort of war room regarding the elections, him and people like him are the ones who pontificate to you. Jeffrey Toobin and his ilk sit there every night, smug as a kitten, looking down on normal folk, looking down on average people, looking down on middle-class individuals who just want to go to work, go to church, raise their families, play with their kids. And if they happen to have a little extra time, go out for breakfast and not have to put on a mask between bites. It's people like Jeffrey Toobin who pontificate to you about it's amoral to vote in a man like Donald Trump for a second term. You were caught pleasuring yourself on Zoom in between business meetings. How depraved of a human being do you have to be, you pudgy elitist, to not, do the do, as it were, during a 5-minute break. So the next time people like Don the homosexual lemon and his prolapsed rectum and people like Jeffrey Toobin and his proclivity to pleasure himself on Zoom try to pontificate to you and tell you how evil you are, how bad of an individual you are because you're not embracing transgenderism. You're making crazy people feel bad. Remember who they are. And they're all like this. Remember who they are. That way, when they start moralizing, when they start pontificating, you can laugh in their face. So, with that little addendum aside, let's get back to one Hunter Biden and his crack-addled adventures. I had a friend reach out to me and he said, I think Hunter Biden did it on purpose. Sort of like, basically delivering the laptop and hoping that what was on it got found just to bury his dad, I guess. It's one of those psychological issues where people who are starting to be successful sabotage their own success. I'm all open for the idea of the crack addict with the heart of gold. I really am. But between the crack addict with the heart of gold and Providence, I'd lay my chips down on Providence. Because too many things had to have happened in succession for this laptop to make its way to the FBI, then for the FBI to apparently not do anything with it for a long time. No, federal agencies are not biased. They don't have a horse in this race. They are blind just like justice. Please. 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 They know that if Joe Where Am I Biden becomes president, they can do what they want. They can run roughshod. Because I've heard it whispered that some of the things on that laptop aren't just emails to and fro trying to get daddy a taste. Trying to, 10% them, whatever the deal was, through shell companies. I heard that there is very disturbing news or very disturbing things on that laptop of Hunter Biden's. Criminal things involving minors. Things that I told you, the reason they're fighting like rabid dogs is because they don't want to answer for what they've done. They don't want to be held accountable for what they've done. They believe that if Kamala Harris and Joe, where am I, Biden, come on, man, becomes president, all of this is going to get swept under the rug. All of this is going to be done away with. And they can spend their millions and their ill-gotten gains at the expense of the American taxpayer and, live in the White House for free to boot. But hopefully, prayerfully, I believe that we may yet be granted another season of time. Maybe I'm just optimistic because of my kids' sake. I don't know. But the way I'm reading the situation, there is absolutely no enthusiasm for Joe Biden president. The only rabid individuals that are going to be out there voting are against this administration, against Donald Trump. So basically hate. I hate him enough to become a communist country. That's how much I hate the big orange man. But what did he do? See, nobody can pinpoint the fact or pinpoint to a fact that he did something horrendous. Well, he colluded with the Russians. Apparently not. Apparently the one that was colluding with the Russians was Hunter Biden. And he got Daddy to go down to the Ukraine and get a prosecutor fired before he could unravel Burisma Holdings. I know, but the media doesn't talk about this because the media has an agenda too. They despise this president because this president has a connection with the people that they never will. They despise this president because this president found ways of going around them. They're no longer the gatekeepers of information. Now, Twitter's trying. They've shut down accounts. They've done everything they could to keep this story from coming out, and yet here it be. And there's more. I guarantee you there's more, because they're still just insane with rage and everything else about it. Now, the one thing that you must realize is that never once throughout this entire ordeal has anyone from the Biden administration or camp or whatever you want to call it denied that this was Hunter Biden's laptop. See, this is what the other side is very good at. When you can't dispute the facts, when you can't dispute the evidence, you attack the messenger. So there's been an all-out attack on Rudy Giuliani of late because he's the one that is in possession of the laptop. And the reason they're attacking this man is because they cannot disprove the emails, the messages, and I shudder to think the pictures and the videos. Back to the idea. Allow me to take a sip of my delicious beverage, if you will. That Hunter Biden is the crack addict with the heart of gold. If his intent all along was to leak what had been going on for years and years, to leak the corruption that his father was entangled in, then he likely would have scrubbed the pictures, he likely would have scrubbed the videos, he likely would have scrubbed the things that incriminated him directly with things that are illegal and that have no expiration. The statute of limitations, as it were, does not apply to certain crimes. And if my gut feeling is correct, and my gut feeling has rarely failed me, and no, I don't have people in the FBI that drop the dime and call me, because I know all of these guys doing podcasts out of their basements now have intel. They all have people on the inside feeding them information. No, I'm just looking at action and reaction. They're bracing for something truly horrid. And I think at some point they're going to try to throw good old Hunter under the bus just to save Joe. But the most recent thing that has come out, and again, this is important because I've gotten the emails, well, I don't like his personality. Don't disregard personality, look at character. I don't care what you think about the big orange man. He's a builder from New York. He probably has a potty mouth. He's direct. He's blunt. But he's not a corrupt weasel character. Personality-wise, sure, Joe Biden's more tame, but Joe Biden probably also has dementia. That'll make you tame. Now, in his youth, if you look at video of Joe Biden, not so tame. Couple that with, credible allegations of rape. And, Joe Biden, not a nice guy. So if you're voting strictly on personality, make sure that you understand what you're voting for. And I know that at this juncture I'm preaching to the choir, but it's for posterity. And you have to be reminded of these things because Christians tend to get lazy. This is our problem. We have it good for a little bit, and we don't realize how bad it can get. We don't realize just how upturned the world could be for believers within 6 months. And so, I'm not going to go vote because I have my issues with the personality of one Donald Trump. So I'm just going to stay home. I can't force you to go vote. But I don't want to hear anyone weeping and moaning when they start shutting down your churches and come and arrest you, because I guarantee you, very few people hate God, the church, and everything that has to do with believers more than the current Democrat Party. That's just the reality of it. I'm sorry. If it was the Republicans, I'd tell you. I have nothing to gain from lying to you. I have nothing to gain from convincing you of one thing or another. So my only purpose here is to tell you the truth. Now, the truth is hard to come by nowadays. We're going to get back to Hunter. We're going to get back to the fact that a family insider has now provided a trove of documents to the U.S. Senate investigators. Again, not holding my breath on the investigation. But you can't say it's not happening when it is. You can't say there's no evidence when there is evidence. Now, whether they choose to prosecute Hunter Biden or not, that's between them and whatever. But the average individual has to acknowledge that this kind of stinks, man. If it doesn't pass the smell test, it doesn't pass the smell test. And I know I could, devolve again. I could go off on a rabbit trail and start talking about all these internet prophets that were saying Donald Trump's going to get frog-marched out of the White House for Russian collusion. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-ba. Who be the guilty party? So, Just stop. Don't claim mantles and don't call yourselves prophets. Just say you allowed hate to dictate the things that came out of your mouth. Repent. Otherwise, I don't see the very good future for you, sir. I'm sorry to tell you this. I don't see the very good future for you. Because God gives us a season to repent. God gives us a season to walk back the foolishness that we allowed ourselves to be mired in. But even after all this, you still think you're in the right. But we'll get back to that because there's other news to talk about. This one in particular kind of stood out because he's gone and done it. Pope Francis, in Shift for the Church, voices support for same-sex civil unions. And Don, the homosexual lemon, celebrated endlessly. This is the Catholic Church, kids. So Il Papa, the Pope, if you had any doubts about his spirituality, I think this sort of puts the nail in the old coffin, don't it? I mean, he's been known to say a few things that were questionable, and he's been known to do a few things that people sort of raised an eyebrow at, but this goes beyond that. And if perchance there are Catholics listening to this program, and I know that at a certain point I had a few who were and listened, maybe you should reevaluate your allegiance and focus on a one-on-one with Jesus rather than have to use a proxy. Because if this is God's mouthpiece on earth, as they like to say the Pope is, boy, oh boy, is the Catholic Church in for a hard one. Rome. Pope Francis expressed support for same-sex civil unions in remarks revealed in a documentary film that premiered on Wednesday. A significant break from his predecessors that staked out new ground for the church in its recognition of homosexual people. The remarks coming from the leader of the Roman Catholic Church had the potential to shift debates about the legal status same-sex couples in nations around the globe, and unsettled bishops worried that the unions threaten what the church considers traditional marriage between one man and one woman. Let's call it what it is. This is the slow suicide of the Catholic Church. It just is. I'm sorry. If you're a Catholic and you take offense to my words, then take offense to my words. But you understand that when you validate sin, when you celebrate sin, when you allow for sin to become the norm, then you can no longer claim that God is on your side. You can no longer claim that you belong to God. What we have to create is a civil union law. That way they are legally covered. Francis said in a documentary. Francesco, which debuted at the Rome Film Festival, reiterating his view that gay people are children of God. I stood up for that, he said. We're all children of God. But in order to be in harmony with God, we must repent of sin. Unless we've redefined sin in Catholicism, then unrepented of sin is still an eternal death sentence. That's what the book says. Outside, outer darkness, not near God or in his bosom, are the adulterers, the fornicators, the liars, the hypocrites, and oh yes, the homosexual. So it's not just homosexuals that are cast asunder. It's anyone that is not repentant of sin. And here we have the pontiff, the leader of one of the major religions of the world, saying, there is no need for you to repent of thy sinfulness. Nay, nay, we're going to make a way for you to be legally covered. We're going to create civil unions. Wink, wink. And of course, many gay Catholics and their allies outside the church welcomed the Pope's remarks, though Francis's opposition to gay marriage within the church remained absolute. For now. Because another thing that we must acknowledge, and this is unequivocal, is that sin is never satisfied until it has consumed the host. Allow me to repeat. Sin is never satisfied until it has consumed the host. Altogether, completely, without leaving anything salvageable. So, as of now, the Pope may still be opposed to homosexual marriage, But they're going to chip away and chip away and chip away until at some point in a new documentary, Pope Francis will express support for, you guessed it, same-sex marriage. So that's what's happening in Catholicism. You ever have one of those days where you just shrug your shoulders and go, maybe judgment won't be that bad? Because, I mean, we're doing this to ourselves. But then you realize that we're not here to surrender. We're not here to give up. We're not here to walk off the battlefield. We're not here to concede the fight. That's just not what the children of God are here for. This is why I'm perpetually perturbed at the navel gazers, at the people who are just sitting there doing nothing, waiting for rapture. That's not why you're here. Let's get back to this, because guaranteed, I promise you, the narrative is going to be that this whole Hunter Biden thing's a waste of time, that there's nothing to see, that everything's on the up and up, and it isn't. They're lying to your face, hoping that they can drag a dementia-rattled horse over the finish line. And I think they're in for a nasty surprise, because all of these prognosticators and all of these people think that the entire nation is a Twitter troll. Look, I do not have a Twitter account. I do not tweet. I believe it's imbecilic. Sorry, that's just me. If you do, God bless. Godspeed. But I guarantee you there's more people in this country that don't have Twitter accounts than do. And so when you judge everything that you think is going to happen in a country based on what the Twitterati do, you're in for a rude awakening, to say the least. But I want to get this out so that nobody go, well, there's no evidence. It's just hearsay. It's conjecture. No, they're his emails and his laptop. And yes, it's been proven that it is one Hunter Biden's laptop, because guess what? Hunter Biden's lawyer called the repair shop and go, hey, is it possible to get my client's laptop back? Now, it had been with the FBI for some time by this point, but still, if this wasn't his laptop, if he had nothing to do with it, and if everything was on the up and up, why, pray tell, with his lawyer request the laptop from the repair shop? Just a logic question. I know. Logic hard to come by nowadays because everything's about feelings. Well, guess what? No. Feelings are the least reliable metric that you can go by as a human being. Use reason, use logic, use your own eyes. See the situation for what it is and how all the corrupt rats are starting to feel the heat. And they're just hoping against hope that there's enough dumb people in this country to make Dementia Joe president. Because otherwise, there will be no need to query for whom the bells toll. It shall be for them. So, Biden family insider, Tony Bobulinski. Now there's a name. Now, I thought Boldea was rough, but at least my name isn't Bobulinski. has provided a trove of documents to U.S. Senate investigators from the Senate Homeland Security and Senate Finance Committees. Bobulinski, the recipient of one of the emails retrieved from Hunter Biden's laptop, went public on Wednesday night with a statement saying he confirms its authenticity and detailed how former Vice President Joe Biden, the Democrat nominee for president in this year's election, which is just over 10 days away, was personally involved in many dealings with his son's business associates. Look, the reason this doesn't surprise me is because I know the grift. I grew up in a country where this was commonplace. If somebody with political power came to prominence, then apparently every single member of their extended family became geniuses overnight. They got hired at the biggest companies to be consultants, doing absolutely nothing but getting hefty money for it. Not because they become geniuses overnight, but because Uncle Joe or Daddy Joe had influence and he could navigate the geopolitical situation to their benefit and financial excess. The Chinese didn't give Hunter Biden money because they liked his smile. Brilliant a smile as it might be, especially for a crack addict. Now, there are pictures surfacing of Hunter Biden before he got the caps put in. Not a handsome smile at all, but hey, millions of dollars for doing nothing from Russia and China. You think to yourself, I could take a few days, get myself a nice new grill, go back to crack next week. So, a Biden family insider is now saying that, yep, it's true. And what's worse, can I get a taste? Joe Biden was personally involved in many dealings with his son's business associates. And again, we get back to this dichotomy of feelings over facts. Because I've heard some people, you have to be sympathetic. I mean, he's a crack addict. Look, I'm sympathetic of people who, through no fault of their own, are down on their luck. I'm fresh out of sympathy for multimillionaires who just like to crack, who use their father's position in office to become filthy rich. And I know what you're thinking. If he had so much money, why choose crack? I mean, there's better drugs, I hear. I don't know. Never done them. But hey, cocaine comes to mind. Doesn't rot your teeth. Why would you go for the cheapest thing you could possibly get? I don't see. Again, character. Difference between character and personality. Let's continue reading this because we don't have much time. We're not going to get into 1 Samuel 17 today. We're probably not going to get into 1 Samuel 17 until after the elections because everything is just so juicy. There's just so much to unpack every week. I miss a week. I'm like, I can't go back and do those stories, fascinating as they may be. Because Joe Biden isn't the only one losing his mind. Apparently Nancy Pelosi's following suit. It's a beautiful day. So let's get on with this. Documents that Bobulinski provided to senators have begun appearing in public. Uh-oh. But how? They kept a lid on it. See, you can't keep a lid on something like this. And it's not for lack of trying. They've tried everything to try to make this story go away. But the average individual discerns when something is true or isn't. And then all the evidence starts piling up. Documents that Bobulinski provided to senators have begun appearing in public and have been obtained by a number of media outlets, including this one. In them, text messages, emails, and other documents illustrate a larger picture of concern regarding the Biden family's operating procedures and deep connections that Joe Biden himself to all of this. I know, but Joe's such a nice guy. He's not. It's a facade. He's a politician. 47 years in politics. The man was going bald 35 years ago. How exactly does he have hair now? What? There's no such thing as balding gracefully anymore? His entire life's a lie, including his fake hair. In them, text messages, emails, and other documents illustrate a larger picture. Of course they do. Don't mention Joe being involved. It's only when you're face to face. Biden family associate James Gillier, the head of J2CR, says in one WhatsApp text message that Bobulinski provided to the Senate committee. I know you know that, but they're paranoid. Well, they had good reason to be, didn't they? But see, this is what happens with corruption. You take a little taste, and you see that nobody noticed, and you see that nobody pointed it out, and you think to yourself, how about a wee bit more? I'm still hungry, sir. How about a wee bit more? I'm going to Google to see how many homes. Yep, that's me typing. Because, again, you need to know about this. Because he's been in politics for 47 years. He's known as Middle Class Joe by his colleagues. You know that, right? From Scranton, Pennsylvania. His entire life is a lie. He is a quintessential politician. He has multiple homes, including a mansion in Wilmington, Delaware. In 2017, hey, Jill and Joe purchased another property in Delaware for $2.7 million. But where's the money coming from, Joe? Now we know. Joe didn't get a job at the Jiffy Lube. He didn't get a job at the Quick Trip. He wasn't collecting aluminum cans to earn a little extra money to buy that $2.7 million home. Joe was on the take, and Joe was getting a taste of every single deal that good old Hunter made using his name as leverage. Let that sink in before you say that I don't like Trump's personality. You know what? At least the man made his money the good old-fashioned way, by taking risks. He made millions and billions, he lost millions and billions, and he made millions and billions again. All this before getting into politics. And I guarantee you, as sure as today is October the 22nd, the year of our Lord 2020, if half the stuff coming out about the Biden family was coming out about the Trump family, they would already be holding another impeachment proceeding. And you know what? If it turned out to be true, then he would have deserved to get impeached. However, because it's true of Joe Biden, because it's true of Hunter Biden, in the least, Joe Biden does not deserve to be president of these United States. Just dementia rattled as he might be, he does not deserve to be anywhere near the reins of power. Because a leopard, dear children, will not change its spots. Once a grifter, always a grifter. Once a lowlife who skated by on an air of nicety, he's not going to change now at 78. Come on, please. Let's get real. So, again, one of the tidbits provided by Mr. Bobulinski was a message saying, don't mention Joe being involved. It's only when you are face to face. Because, they've seen enough gangster movies to realize that their phones might be tapped. They've seen enough gangster movies to realize that, hey, if you're going to do nefarious stuff, it's best to do it face to face after somebody's wanded you and made sure that you're not wearing a microphone or a listening device. The only problem is Mr. James Gillier is kind of dumb. And so he sent out a text message going, you know what, don't talk about Joe being involved. Don't mention it. No kidding. But now we know that he's involved because you told somebody not to mention that he's involved except for when they're face to face. This is the level of intelligence attempting to run your life, to reimagine the nation, to reimagine policing, to reimagine capitalism. This is the level of stupid that wants to rule your life. But yes, I know, Donald Trump's personality is grating. I'm sorry. I don't hate Donald Trump enough to make my kids witness the horrors of communism. And if you do, then allow me to inform you that you are pathological. So there's that. So yes, this is the level of smarts we're dealing with. Now Joe doesn't want to know he's involved, so don't mention him being involved unless you're face to face, okay? I know you know. I know you know. But they're paranoid. Well, yeah. With people like you working for them, I'd be paranoid too. Other text messages reveal details about the negotiations between Chinese officials and the Biden family. Now you're beginning to understand why Joe Biden is so friendly regarding the Chinese. He's always had nice things to say. Even with the China virus. He called Donald Trump xenophobic for shutting down travel from China. Come on, man. Come on. Them little yellow people didn't do nothing to you. Well, now we understand why Joe is so defensive. Because there's a big old gravy train a-comin'. And apparently Joe gets a taste of every railroad car. In one 2017 text message, Hunter Biden himself says that a Chinese investor intended to become partners with him in order to be partners with the Bidens. Huh? But I thought Hunter Biden was a genius. I thought that, it's when he's not doing crack, the man is good at everything from oil exploration in the Ukraine to Chinese exports. Why would he need to trade on the name of Biden if he's so capable? All of the documents that Bobulinski provided to the Senate investigators have also been provided to media outlets, including this one. Bobulinski's statement in cooperation with Senate investigators seemed to have blown the scandal wide open. As one Senator Josh Hawley noted on Thursday morning, that the Senate Judiciary Committee voted to subpoena Twitter and Facebook over the tech companies' move to censor the original New York Post story. So, these are the two paths that you have before you. I know that sounds apocalyptic in and of itself, but guess what? It is. So, if this nation goes down one path, then we will be living in totalitarianism akin to China, because it will tell every nerd king of Silicon Valley that it's okay for them to silence you. It's okay for them to unperson you. It's okay for them to deplatform you. You don't matter. They know best. It's okay for them to try to interfere with elections by not allowing news reports to freely flow. It will also say that it's okay for presidents and vice presidents to be corrupt to the point that their kids are flying all over the globe, getting paid for influence. Look, it's not. If you still think this is about Democrat and Republican anymore, let me break it to you. It's not. It's not even close to that. I do believe that this election will determine whether America will survive as a constitutional republic for another 4 years or not. And I know that some of you are thinking to yourselves, oh, what's another 4 years? Well, it's another 4 years. It's another 4 years in which we will have the opportunity to repent. It's another 4 years in which we will have the opportunity to draw closer to God. It's another 4 years in which we will have the opportunity to preach the gospel. So don't look at 4 years as though it was nothing. There are people on their deathbeds willing to sign away their life savings for another minute. Never mind 4 years. Perspective. You need it. You need perspective. You need to understand what is happening. You need to understand what's at stake. Then perhaps those of you that are taking this so lightly won't anymore. Those of you that are sitting on the sidelines won't anymore. Those of you that have not yet delineated character from personality might just take a few seconds and see that, abrasive and blunt as this president's personality might be, his character dictated that he defend life and the life of the unborn. His character dictated that he be against abortion. His character dictated that he stand up for the persecuted church. See, that's character. And as long as his character is consistently decent, I'm not going to call it good, but decent, then I'm sorry to tell you, I really don't care about his personality. When you go to a doctor, you don't care about the bedside manner. You care about being better. This man was elected as president, and in the last 4 years, with all the headwinds that he's faced, he's done more than perhaps any other president before him. That's something. Oh, yeah, and he beat coronavirus. Ha! At 74. Anyway, I know. Oh, there you go. You're in the tank again. No. I'm just being honest with you. This is the lay of the land as I see it. If you see it different, God bless you. We can still be friends and brothers. But you know what? Take a second. Ruminate upon the words that I spoke, and perhaps you will come to a different conclusion. With that, I thank you all for being with us. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for praying for this ministry. Thank you for praying for me. Put on your war paint, kids. It's about to get rough. But you know what? You still have to do your part. God bless you. God keep you. And Gino, if you've got anything to say, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, it's very important that we realize that if we had Biden, for 4 years, it would be a mess. And even if we had him for like 4 days, it would be bad. Everybody, please get out and vote. Please support a president who supports our values, our biblical values, who supports life, who declared the churches to be essential when mayors and governors were trying to shut them down. And this morning, I literally had an event in my hometown here with 3 gals from the Women for Trump campaign, and they spoke about every value I believe in. Pro-Second Amendment rights. You know, they spoke about Trump being a man of his word, and that he was under such attack over the last 4 years that only with God's help could he get through it. And that's why he went and held up a Bible in front of St. John's Episcopal Church when the rioting was going on in D.C., because that's meant something to him to have a picture taken with the Bible. I will bet you anything he was probably praying and reading that Bible before that picture took place. So be proactive, and God bless you. Thank you so much for listening to the Light of Truth broadcast.
Thank you for listening to today's broadcast, The Light of Truth with Michael Boldea. If you would like to order a copy of today's broadcast, please visit our website at handofhelp.com. If you have questions about our ministry, you can email us at handofhelpoffice@aol.com or simply call us at 920-206-9910. God bless you.